So after I got rejected from medicine the first time, I dedicated the last 4 years of my life, on top of studying for my undergraduate degree, to make my medicine application the best and to outshine everybody else's. This video is about you though, so if you keep watching I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it for yourself. I'm also going to include one specific secret that I came up with myself in order to kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this process. It's important to save time during things like this, and this video is going to tell you how to do this as well. Welcome back, my name's Thomas and I try to make the medical school process a bit easier to understand through these videos. Please feel free to subscribe, as I do try and make this content as enjoyable and as valuable at the same time as I can, so thank you in advance for doing that. So, work experience. You need to be thinking about things like your interview and your personal statement far in advance. I'm sure most of you have done this, but I am just going to prefix this video with this, that if you haven't started thinking about it yet, please try and get your mind into the process about the medical admissions process if you are serious about getting into medicine. So you can either think about work experience for medicine as an annoying hurdle to get over with, because for some parts of it, it actually is, but the main thing that you need to think about with work experience is that this is essentially you deciding if you want to spend your life in a medical career. I know it sounds a bit dramatic because you're probably only about either 18 or 22 or in your late 20s thinking about sort of going into a medical career, but you should really be using this with the mindset of, do I want to spend my entire life in a medical career? Does the glimpse that I can get before I go into it sort of satisfy my urge to go into it for my life, okay? It sounds dramatic, but I would think about it this way. So without further ado, let's get straight into it, okay? So for work experience, essentially what you want, I'll sum it up straight away. You need a people-facing job that is putting you in a scenario of either helping people, supporting people, or teaching people, okay? This is the fundamentals for being a doctor, it's the fundamentals for work experience, it's the fundamentals for personal statement, and you will have to recite these things in your interviews and everything, but I'll make videos about that in the future. But these core things are important, okay? Helping people, supporting people, or teaching people. Go into a job that has people facing and you can do these things and you will be flying. Obviously, hospital work experience is good, but you definitely do need to be privileged to get this. I mean, through either parent being a doctor, through an extremely difficult process, and I can speak firsthand, an extremely difficult process to actually get into this. If you do get hospital work experience, fantastic, and if you can get your hands on it, go for it. It is the most accurate representation you can get of a career in a hospital, obviously, but do be aware it is quite difficult, especially as COVID restrictions are just easing. So I'm going to go into another video in future about my specific work experience and how I did this exactly. I'm trying to make this video about you and how you can do it. So with the COVID restrictions pretty much in the UK being pretty much over, I think the only recommendation at this point now is you essentially have to wear a mask in healthcare scenarios, which is totally fair enough. With this in mind, you are actually able to get into a lot more sort of physical work experience roles, as I know when I was applying it was things like online GP. You can do this, it is a pretty good insight into it, but physical experience are always better because you have to physically be there and sit through it, okay? So with the previous thing that I mentioned in mind, sort of people-facing roles, healthcare related roles with sort of helping people, supporting people, or teaching people in mind, the places that I want to start you thinking about are, for example, hospitals, where you can do a physical week of work placement, elderly care homes, where you can work with elderly people in their sort of place of residence, help even things like serving tea and coffee and with their daily tasks. This is totally invaluable when you're applying for medicine. It's something that people look for and value in students. Things like outpatient care homes. So for example, people that are too well to be in the hospital but too unwell or not independent enough to be living by themselves. These are fantastic places that you can get experience in helping people. Things like care charities. Charities are definitely relevant in the NHS because you're running on limited resources, you're running with limited staff. These places are constantly looking for people to help most of the time, I've found, and a medical school applicant is pretty much the perfect applicant for this. A place like a pharmacy. It's one of the places that you don't really think about when you're applying for care homes, as well as opticians, so I'll say pharmacy and opticians. It's a patient-facing role. People are going in for a healthcare related need and you can provide them with something at a pretty low skill level. It's perfect for the medical school application process. Even things like GP receptions, I mean, this is something that you would probably need a bit more experience to get into, as it is a little bit more skilled than sort of a voluntary work placement or anything. It's still another patient-facing role where you encounter people, you encounter difficult scenarios, and it's all relevant for medicine. Anything to do with teaching, as I've mentioned. Teaching is an invaluable skill in medicine as well. Doctors teach constantly. You can go into teaching once you're into medicine. It's one of these things that is a key skill in a doctor, and again, they will be looking for it. And volunteering, so you don't need any experience for things like volunteering. You can mention that you're a medical school applicant and you can volunteer in some NHS wards. At least you could when I was applying. I think, again, with the COVID restrictions lifting, it will become one of these things that is normal again, but I'm pretty sure as it stands now, you can start volunteering just now. So I mentioned at the start, I have one specific secret that I used that totally sort of maximised my time through work experience, that allowed me to do more with my work experience while I was going through it. So I mentioned over the past 4 years, pretty much, I've been getting all different types of work experience to get into medicine. The one specific tip I will say that I mentioned at the start of this video, the one specific secret that will maximise your time is, if you're at the ages where you're sort of not working full time, but you're still a student to some degree, be that an undergraduate student, be that a high school student, get a job that's related to medicine. Don't do work experience, get a job. I'll make another video about exactly how I did this, but you don't have to get a voluntary placement. This work experience does not, I mean, for most unis anyway, it doesn't have to be defined as voluntary. You can get paid to do this. Majority, if not all, of my roles were paid. I know students that did, their Saturday would be a sort of work in a restaurant or a pub, and their Sunday would be a voluntary hospital placement. I totally cut this out by spending one day working on the weekend and getting my placement out of this. And this is something that I would actually recommend to everyone watching this. If you can volunteer, if you have the sort of time and you have the resources to do it, go for it, because it is invaluable. I did it as well when I was a bit younger, but when it came to the point of me studying my undergraduate degree, I looked at things pragmatically, and I was a skint student, I had no money, and I needed work experience, so I put the two together and essentially get a healthcare related job. I'm going to make a video in future again specifically talking about my experiences, as you can get a lot from listening to other people and their experiences, so I will do this in future. Next week's video, I think, is going to be something totally different to this channel. It's totally new, totally different, and totally sort of personal to me. So stay tuned for this. It's going to be something brand new and I think you'll enjoy it. So please subscribe for this if you fancy watching this next week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.